This is only the second time I've used an artificial skull, and in this case it was for velvet antlers. But this is the way I mount antlers on an artificial skull. It pretty much just the way the directions say. Okay, what I got here is it's an artificial skull. You can get them with teeth, but this one doesn't have teeth. But it'll ride kind of flat like that. And basically, this is going to be cut to fit in this. Start taking him off here. It matches up pretty good in the front already, just as far as, you know, the width, which I figured that much. But let's see. We're just going to slowly start hacking away though. So I'll find out where the gap begins. Okay, right there. Okay, it's about right there. So I made a little mark. Got to cut quite a bit off. I'm going to try to be as straight with it as possible. Trying to be a little symmetrical if we can, it helps. Well, it looks like about a width of 1 7/8 or something like that from the front. I'm going to have to take a little bit more off the front anyway. Let's see. Back here, yeah, it should be about that same, about 1 7/8. I went about 2 inches back, something like that. And I'm just going to go, probably be better to go straight down. Now you can see them. There's my marks right here. So I'm going to go straight across to get them. Corner of a table or something, where you can get a little bit of leverage. You don't want to hurt the velvet. Well, I'm almost through, and I'm also almost touching the back of the antler burrs. So I'm getting close. Getting real close. I probably don't want to go much closer than that. It's pretty darn close. Should be able just to, there we go. Seems like it's about 1 1/2 in the front. You can see right there, 1 1/2. And in the back about 5/8 or something like that. Yeah, put a pair of vice grips on here. He's in velvet, and I just don't want to do a whole lot of extra manhandling with the antlers or anything. I'll go ahead and do that. Find me a corner of a table or something, I'll get back with you. We're getting it pretty close. Still don't want to fit. All this right back in here needs to be cut off. When I do that, it should fit nicely. We'll get it. Well, I think I got a good fit. Something like this. And yeah, about like that, yeah. That's perfect right there. Well, we're good to go. In order for the Bondo to grab, I'm supposed to score this up, and I've just got me a little Dremel bit. I don't have a big selection, but just something to, I guess, rough it up a little bit where it'll grab real good. The Bondo. So the Bondo will grab good. And now I've got a little bit of wood wool or fiberglass filler, whatever you've got on hand, you know, to use. You know, so the Bondo don't just want to sag and drip out. You want to add a little bit of volume to the Bondo. Got my Excelsior and Bondo mixed up. Put a little hardener in there. It's kind of get an idea how much you think you'll need to allow you time to work with it and stuff. Probably got to be a little bit neat with it because, yeah, it might be a little bit messy. I like to go ahead and put it in the skull caps, what I like to do, and just kind of put it up in there. Just trying to do it so you can see what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to have to lift it up and put it in. Trying to be neat with it. Emphasis on trying. Just make sure everything's even. And then just hold it while it sets up. You just want to make sure he's got some symmetry going on. See what needs to be done, what don't need to be done. Now before it gets too dry, some of this stuff ought to break right off. Yeah, like right here, some right here. You know, just some of the stuff that maybe slipped out. Yeah, if you're going to get it off right now is the time to get it, that's for sure. You might cut it off or, you know, whatever you got to do. I'm going to let this guy get hard and I'll get back with you. Okay, I've got two part of epoxy sculpt. This isn't the regular gray stuff. This is the solid white stuff. And I think they advise this. To use the fact that it's white, it just seems like the paints that we use to do our animals with, you know, Lifetone in my case, or you know, there's Polytranspar. Well, the paints they're real good in Lifelike paints, but they're a little bit almost like transparent in a way. And the regular gray epoxy sculpt it's kind of hard to cover it up where it looks right. And so basically I'm just going to get, I'll probably end up needing more than that, but I'm going to get 2 equal parts. There's the white stuff. And this comes in handy for like bass too, for the same reasons. You know, it's solid white. So if you use it around the belly area on like say a largemouth bass, you don't have to worry about it being hard to cover up because it's so gray or whatever. That basically is what I'm getting at. So basically we just get 2 equal parts. Make sure it's about even. Now it says to use water on this. That looks pretty good. I mean, it still looks okay, but water may be a better option. Just for, you know, because all the white is coming out of it because of the lacquer thinner and going on my gloves. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. But now there's areas, uneven areas and stuff. I'm just going to start trying to make this stuff look good. I'm just places where it's, you know, a little bit misshapen. Basically, you want the skull cap to, you know, kind of meet flush with the artificial skull cap. And because of that, you're going to have to build up in areas. And like right here on this side, it was uneven. Well, it doesn't matter all that much as long as, you know, the skull cap, the real skull cap and the artificial skull cap, as long as they meet pretty flush, I don't see there being an issue. You don't want to use lacquer thinner. It needs to be water. Well, you see right here, see how uneven that is? Well, my goal is to try to match that up. Make it look as real as possible. So I just get a little bit of water. Water is friendly. Much more friendly than the epoxy skull. And you can still make it look realistic and flush it where the skull cap was a little uneven, where it met up. Get a little water on your finger. Okay, I built that ridge up. So there's a little ridge coming off the top of the brow there on the skull. Kind of fix that up. Might take a little bit more down here to flush all this up, make it where it looks natural a little bit. Water works great with this stuff. You just got to be easy with it. There we are. Yeah, meets with the skull cap there. top of the skull cap. There we are. So you can't even tell that it's been flushed in, see? That's our goal right there. Now I've got Q-tips. Get a little water on your Q-tip. Get in there and, you know, any places where you think it needs a little bit of dressing up, you know, make it look more realistic. Finger's hard to beat for most areas, but, you know, like right in here. That looks real realistic right there. That's pretty good right there. The sides are real good. Right here on the side here, just spray a little bit of water on your finger. Match that up real good. Want all this to blend in real nice. That looks pretty good. Let's see. Put a little bit right up here on top. A little bit more water on your finger. Let's see, here we are. Water on a Q-tip. There's that little ridge inside the skull right here. Want to match that up real good. And see, you can do it with this little bit of water on a Q-tip. And everything just kind of blends together, see. That's a good thing about epoxy sculpt. It blends real good, see. Make it look just like part of the antler there. See, I think that's about as far as it goes. Okay. Okay. Looks pretty good. Now you also want to get of course you want to get the side real good. Okay, it was a little uneven in here. You can see where I put some epoxy sculpt on. A little bit of water here. It's going to take a little bit of work right here. See, it's still uneven. The skull cap is slightly smaller. You got to push a little bit sometimes to get that epoxy sculpt do what you want it to do. See, like right here on the corner. It's definitely uneven. Let's see. Good thing about water, you can shape things with water. With a little bit of water, you can shape things like you want them to be. You want a smooth transition from the fake skull to the real skull cap. You know, where they meet. You want a smooth transition, a realistic smooth transition. And we'll get up underneath and see what that looks like. Well, gave you a good angle here. You can see kind of what's going on. Like right down here, that's part of the bottom of the skull cap. All this blends in with your water. You don't want to lose this. So all that where you can see where the Bondo is. Basically, I trimmed all that off. So all I could really had to do was just cover it. That was my goal. I let the Bondo not get too hard where I can't work with it. And so I'm doing that. Basically, just putting a thin layer of this epoxy sculpt and try to blend it in, make it look natural. That is all that I'm doing here. I get what I can with my fingers, as far as spreading it out and everything. And then you might have to use, doesn't hurt to have Q-tips on hand, because you'll more than often, you'll be needing to use Q-tip. Just wet your Q-tip, try to get that down where it matches real good. Up here, you still got to spread it to do what you want it to do. Modeling tools come in handy probably for this. Can't beat a finger sometimes to get what you got to get done. You can kind of see what's going on. Now there is some small contours of the school that you want to consider, you know. Of course. But the goal is just to match it up with the bone. We've got a little bit of an uneven area, well, pretty big actually. But I felt like it was within tolerances. Plus, it's in the back. You're not going to look real good. But I want all that to match up. My middle of my bird to the bag of my eye was 1 3/4 inches, and I got that lined up really good. So I think I'm in there pretty good. But all this is going to line that up. Do my best to make it part of the skull cap. Just try to follow natural contours of the skull and work it all the way around. Okay, I've got my 2-part epoxy. I already used up all the other stuff, and I'm going to put them together 2 equal parts of the solid white epoxy. And I'm just going to mix it together with water. Lacquer thinner displaces the white paint. Mix those 2 parts together real good. They say to let it sit a few minutes because it works better. You might want to do that. Let it sit for 2 or 3 minutes before you decide to use it. They say for some reason it wants to work better. I've mixed it up pretty good. Plenty of water in it. And the skull cap is up a little bit high over here. So here again. Nope, I'm going to stay out of that. The least amount you can use and flush it up, you're probably better off. You just want to flush it up to that skull cap. But you get the idea. Follow natural contours of the artificial skull and the real skull. Try to flush the contours up. You know, the anatomical similarities between the natural skull and the artificial skull. Try to match those places up. That matches up, that matches up. You can tell there's a little unevenness here between the artificial skull and the natural skull. So I'm gonna be filling all this in. Let's see. So you just flush it up. Just flush it up. See how it looks more natural? Just put a little bit more. You'll have to kind of probably wet it to smoothen it good enough. You'll get a little bit of water on your finger. But you get the idea. Now, the good thing about wearing these gloves is you're not going to have fingerprints on it. You know, if you have to touch the school, at least you're not going to get fingerprints on it. That helps. Okay. Got Q-tips at your disposal if you need them. You know, don't forget that. You've got Q-tips if you need them. That looks pretty good to me. All I want to do is cover that Bondo with just it don't take much, just a thin layer. You know, I trimmed it anyway while it was still rubbery, the Bondo. So all I got to do is fill in, build it up, and match it, smoothen it in. And we've got a perfect fit. And nobody's going to pay super close attention anyway, you know. Like to see whether it's real skull or not under the burr or whatever. So yeah, just enough to cover it. Put a little water on your finger or spray a little on there and smoothen it out. Cover up that Bondo, blend it in, and you're good to go. You got Q-tips at your disposal, got everything you need. Match it up real good. Make it look like a good smooth transition from what's fake to what's real. And nobody will know a thing. A little bit more right there. Yeah, I don't know how good I can get this, but I'll try. I've got like a T-pin. There is like some stuff here. They say you can use a T-pin and just kind of match it up. I don't know. I'm not a pro at this stuff or anything. I don't know if you need to go up from the top more. Let's see. Yeah, I'll just put some spotting. Just try to get little spots, and I'll poke and drag a little, and poke, drag a little, just slightly poke. Just try to kind of match stuff up a little bit here and there. Yeah, doing a pretty good job just poking and dragging. It already looks about the same, you know, kind of flushing it up. Kind of poking and dragging a little. Poke, drag. Poke, drag. Flushing everything up. Here on the sides a little bit. That looks pretty good already. Let's see the right way to do this. Let's see. Looks like they just drag it a T-pin across the top of it and create their probably more from the top, it looks like. You know, like, okay, here we are, down the sides here, down the sides. Well, let's see, there's some places there, up on top here, up on the skull cap. You want that to match up pretty good if you can. And there you go. I'm not going to get any more complicated than that. Okay, to paint it, I like the idea of maybe, I noticed there's a wood piece in the back of it, and it's got a little screw hole even. Got a shorter screw, so I'm just going to cinch it down, kind of like I do with anything that I paint, like a bass or anything. I got like a, just going to cinch it down, get a little bit of leverage here. Now I've got a little painting stick, and I'm going to paint him. Not going to hang it up or whatever. Just find some way that you can paint him, you know, his hands free as much as possible is probably better. This one just happened to have a little piece of wood in the back. I guess that's what they use to hang it or make it somehow. I'm sure they have a mold or something. Well, I don't see how it'd be wrong unless there's something I don't know. I don't see how it'd be wrong to use a little base coat sealer on there. I'm just going to throw some good old base coat sealer all over it. And then get it everywhere. Put a couple of coats of that on there. I'm kind of targeting the skull area, as you noticed. For the real skull cap area. Okay, now I got off-white. I'm just going to start painting it. You can tape it off if you want to. If you feel like you need to. Might take a couple of coats too, that's for sure. Yeah, put you out however many coats you think you need to put. 2 or 3. This paint's a little bit transparent. Anyway. Okay, I've got like a little mixture of, well, it's chocolate brown and white. Rich brown and white is what it is. And I've got it pretty close where it matches the antler color. Places where there's blemishes. And I have been known to just kind of fill it in a little bit. Here's one. There's one. You know, just minimal coverage, you know. Right there. Kind of cover that up where it's not so noticeable. There. Here's one. There's one. There was a real bad scratch right here. You can't even notice it hardly because I covered it up. Right there. Right here. Thinking where you got maybe rubbed a fence post or something, or could have happened during transport or something. Okay, I've got my white again. I just want to make sure everything's good and white. Oops. And there needs to be good and white. I know Mountain Mike has he does artificial schools too, or the company does. And they have a good white color that really matches the skull. Pretty much better than anything I've ever really used. That's the white that Mountain Mike has. Some good stuff. I don't know if they still make them. I haven't seen them in a while. But they're the kind where you match the skull cap up with the skull plate. That's the kind of one I'm talking about. Okay, I've got a Q-tip lacquer thinner and I'm just touching up some of these bases with these burrs and velvet. Try to make them look more realistic. Probably could have taped it off or something. But this ought to work. Just get a little lacquer thinner on there, and if those hairs are white, make them brown again. That's all you got to do there. If they're white, make them brown again. Now, Q-tip lacquer thinner will work, but another option might be just a toothbrush. You know, if you rake it long enough, you'll bring that hair, you'll rub that hair off the paint. And I use toothbrushes a lot for when I work on, like around the eyes on a deer or something. If I accidentally paint his eyes too dark, you can rub some of your paint back off. Because the paint dries and it'll you know, it'll flake off. You just got to rub a toothbrush over it. Sometimes it's good for blending stuff in too. You know, you can rub some of the paint off and make it where it matches better, like if you put the paint on too heavy. It looks like what we got here, that's where the hanger is on this one. It's where the head of the nail or the screw goes in there, and then it drops down. It's got a slot there. And so this one will not come off. Once that head gets down in there and it slides up in there, that screw or nail, whichever you use, won't, it's not going to come off the wall. You've got this. Got this middle piece. If we want it like this, if we want it on the wall, well, this is easily done right here. Maybe little screws with a funny little torque tip bit on the end, a little torque tip or whatever. I got just one of these cheap little $2 little screwdriver things. You know, it's got little different fittings on it. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. Another one. Down here. We'll grab this piece right here. It's got two little holes. You just match them up real good. Put them right there on there. Now you just tighten them up. Already got your pod holes drilled. I just got this one off eBay. You get a lot of cheap stuff off there. You can get bird bodies, and, you know, a lot of old stuff, you know, stuff that can still be used. Don't strip it, but get it good and tight. That's pretty good and tight. Okay, I had to back the screws out a little bit and put them back in because this wasn't flush up against this. There's still a little bit of a separation, barely noticeable, but there's separation. So I backed the screws out, made sure it was good and flush, and just tightened it back in there. That'll happen if you're not careful. Now what we gotta do is put it on, put those two holes. The way this thing, now if, unlike another one, on another deer head, you know, like where I glue the wood in, I would shoot screws through here into the bottom of the skull where I've got that wood piece in, you know, like on a real European horn mount. I got a video on that. But with this one, he's going to hang by a little cog. What it is on a real European horn mount, where the spinal cord goes to the back of the skull, you have a hole there. Well, the thing of it is on a real European horn mount, all you've got to do is, you know, after he's already done and ready to, you know, put on plaque, right there on the back of the skull, there's a hole where the spinal cord was, and you use that to hang your skull up. You don't have to worry about gluing pieces of wood in the bottom of the skull or anything. You just hang him up by the cog. And so that's a pretty neat feature for like a real European horn mount. Now same with this, make sure it's good and flush. And tighten your screws down. Make sure it's good and flush. You got those pilot holes. Let those pilot holes line up. And yeah, let them line up. And you can tell there's a gap there. You can see it. All you gotta do is back and back out a little bit. There you go. Doing this so you can see it. Basically, those potholes, you're going to line them up. That's the whole purpose of this. Oh gosh. Now, it's flush. Let them be being tight. All we got to do is tighten them up. There we are. Good and snug. You can tell, see it's good and flat up against it. That's what you want. I mean, it's good and snug. I've noticed on the back of this, it just happens to have a piece of wood there. But what I'll go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and drill me a hole the diameter of this, and it'll determine. I'm not going to use all this because it's an artificial skull, but I'll probably use probably about that much. Well, I forgot to include this in the video, but after you use your whack, go ahead and put a satin finish on it. I totally forgot to do that. Satin sheen gloss is perfect. Seems like he did it a slight pearly look even, which is good. Okay, now with the wood piece, I kind of line up that little wood piece that's in the back of the skull mount, and it looks like right up towards the top is where you want to go. Yeah, the very top of it, maybe within 1/8 of an inch or something like that, and it's going to be perfect. So I guess while I got it like this is a tight fit. I don't see a person having to even really try to glue it or anything. I think you can just kind of go down with it like that. You could probably put a little glue if you wanted to. I just got me a little bit of Elmer's on the end of this. A little bit of wood glue. I'll just go down with it as far as it'll let me go. And that was it. Clean off any excess, you know. Uh-oh. I got me a big old drill in the end of my drill. A big old bit. And it's roughly about the same size as that cog. And I know about right here is where I want to be. Right in the center. Yeah, about right here. About right here. I want to take that about as far as it'll let me. Got my rack again. Okay, I drilled my hole out real good. I just kind of want to get an idea how far down I am. Okay. That gives me an idea. Looks like about 5/8. That's what I'm going to leave down here, about 5/8. And cut everything else off. So I've got roughly about 5/8. I want to make sure it's good and parallel. You get the idea. Okay, I cut it off. Now I'm going to just going to do a test fit. Here you go. Since it's not a real skull and the cog, it's only like, well, a little over a 1/2 inch, 5/8 deep. I'm going to go ahead and choose to just kind of glue it in place. And kind of align everything up. Okay, I put some glue down in that hole. And I'm going to put it on this cog right here. Drop it down. Line it up. Then hang it on the wall and call the customer. Well, not bad for only my second time. This is only the second time I've used an artificial skull. And in this case, it was for velvet antlers. But this is the way I mount antlers on an artificial skull. It's pretty much just the way the directions say.